Here we are, somewhere in Brittany. Nice little rural property. And here's a familiar figure here. That's
Beatrice. My Jersey mentor.
yes, Mr. Kirk.
Lovely to see you.
Long time since we've met. Here we are in sunny Brittany.
Au milieu de Bretagne, le centre de l'univers.
Yes.
Asseyez-vous, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you much indeed.
Oh. Oh.
Last time we met we were in Jersey. Now we're in Brittany. In the last few months you've been somewhere else. You've been
Well,
in Cardiff.
It's May 2010. It was June last year that I was drinking tea with my wife in the garden, and it was a Sunday, and we looked up and there was a police helicopter hovering up there, and then police cars came up, jam sandwich cars came up alongside the house, and I said, I think somebody wants to talk to me. And then suddenly they all reversed and disappeared, and the helicopter disappeared, and I thought, I don't want to be arrested for whatever in front of my little 10-year-old. I think it's time to go back to Brittany. Next morning, I'm in the village taking my daughter to the neighbours, and I'm walking back, and the police come over the hill, over the wall, out through the woods, and I'm arrested. And I'm put in prison for 8 months. 8 months for being in possession of a machine gun. A machine gun that was attached to my vintage replica biplane from the First World War, a DH-2. I'd sold it a year earlier. And I had les manottes, you know, the handcuffs and all that. 10 Guernsey, I nearly said Jersey judges, 10 Cardiff judges refused me bail. And yet the magistrates at the beginning gave me, "We know you, Mr. Kirk." And I said, yes, but I wouldn't miss this court case for all the money in the South Wales Police Pension Fund. Yes, Mr. Kirk, we give you bail, unconditional. And they immediately rearrested me, and I stayed in jail for 8 months. But the bad news was that as soon as I got in, it was clear to me that they had no intention of the machine gun case coming to court. They wanted me in a psychiatric hospital. Perish the thought. Maurice Kirk in a... Anyway, they got me by falsifying information into the Caswell Clinic, Bridgend, which is the police-run psychiatric hospital of South Wales. It is the same place where a lot of young children, kids, teenagers have been hanging themselves. And I'm suspicious that there's some relationship, but that's another story. I then left the court, the hospital each 24 hours, each 28 days, because the Section 35 of the 83 Psychiatric Act, Mental Health Act, said that they had to be produced before a judge. And each time they kept changing their argument. They're saying, oh, we believe he has brain damage. And when their 12 weeks ran out, they said, oh no, we think he has a tumour. Well, this was said without me there. Now, I was back in the prison again, and on the 2nd of December, the director of the psychiatric hospital, Dr. Tegwin Williams, wash your mouth out, Maurice, told the Crown Prosecution, and I have the transcript now, which was created with me in the cells beneath. Can you imagine me trying to beat down the door saying, it's my court case, what's going on upstairs? You know, and I was rattling the cage, like one has done for many years. And apparently they said that they believed I had cancer. Well, here we are now in May 2010, and they will not release the medical records. Now, I then had a court case. I called no witnesses, gave no evidence, and the jury who I met afterwards, which again is another long story, a very amusing story, said they'd made their minds up on the first day. But they even produced the guy who bought the aeroplane with the old Lewis 1914 machine gun decommissioned, attached to it, as a prosecution witness. I thought, well, why isn't he in prison? And that's exactly what the jury thought. You know, it's interesting. And I didn't say that because it was so obvious. I thought, let the jury think that. And but what's important now is that my hip, having been dislocated in Guernsey by being beaten up by the bouncers of a certain hotel that will be nameless for fear of civil action, in the centre of St. Peter Port, opposite the police station, with lovely wicker chairs like this. Well, they don't anymore. They used to have lovely wicker chairs. I expect you know the place. Lovely hotel. Dislocated my hip by jumping on my back as I was walking away, by falling on the pavement. And the police had me handcuffed in the hospital in Guernsey for, I think it was about 16 hours, with a dislocated hip. Well, of course, now time has told, and now the hip is in bad shape. But they're reluctant to operate because they can't get the medical records, because there's a history that I might have a brain tumour. No one's told me officially I have a brain tumour.
Would you be operated here or in the UK?
Well, because my doctors in South Wales cannot get the records because they've been falsified. Sorry, they've been rearranged. We mustn't say anything that could be construed as libel. Yes, they falsified my records in order to get me to Broadmoor, and they failed. They haven't finished. I'm looking over my shoulder all the time, rest assured, Mr. Jersey Mentor. I'm looking over my shoulder all the time. But being in a foreign jurisdiction here, in the centre of Brittany, it's making it more difficult for them, because they will have to divulge their information to a foreign judicial system. So I'm enjoying my time here in duplicate.
What's happened on the flying front? Is there anything happening on that?
Well, the trouble is about flying. I was due to set off to South Africa in my Cub G Kirk, K-U-R-K, which is another D-Day aeroplane, which we've been rebuilding for some years. But the CAA are reluctant. They took my licenses because I entered a psychiatric hospital, not for treatment, for examination, but any excuse, and they've suspended my licenses. And I'm now fighting them. It looks like the Royal Courts of Justice to try and get my licenses back. But then again, does one need a license to fly to South Africa?
Probably. How about the veterinary battle? That's continuing?
That's, I hope, trying to get before the Privy Council very shortly. They ignored the 1966 Veterinary Surgeons Act, where if you apply to be reinstated, they have to convene a court, and time again they have just simply refused, which is a breach of law. But the bad news is, of course, this is rife across the UK now. We have another House of Lords meeting in 2 weeks' time. We had one about 6 weeks ago, very productive. We had about 40 of us there, and members of Parliament and various other people, and millionaires who've been made bankrupt because judges are no longer applying the rule of law. When your own judges of your own country ignore statute law, I mean, where are we going? Is there going to be anarchy? Are people going to go to the streets with Lewis machine guns? I mean, you know, what is going to happen
Decommissioned ones or otherwise?
Sorry?
Decommissioned ones or otherwise?
Well, apparently, rumour has it they can be uncommissioned somewhat easily. Rumour has it.
But not you, I hope.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so you're back in the scene again, and we shall tune into you again in 6 months' time.
Well, it's all on the website.
Okay, thanks a lot.